I don't know, I find it difficult to believe, but here we are. Can you imagine the third Sunday in Advent's upon us? Almost to that point where 365 installments of living and laughing and crying and dying and otherwise practicing our humanity brings us around again to that day on the calendar dedicated to celebrating the spiritual feast the season invites us to enjoy. A bounty of love, peace, a bounty of goodwill for each other and for ourselves and for every atom of God's creation. A celebration of similar intent has long accompanied the time of year that we're moving through right now, when the days shorten and the temperatures drop and the harvest is safely stored away. It wasn't always called Christmas. The holy day we observe as the birthday of the beloved prophet, our way shower, Jesus Christ, has its roots and festive nature deeply embedded in the Roman winter solstice celebration honoring the sun god Saturn. The Saturnalia was celebrated annually from December 17th to the 23rd and featured feasting, gift-giving, and songs. All courts were closed, no one was convicted of a crime, and all men, slave and free, rich and poor, were equal for the week. Wow. I just love it. When we get our stuff together, we can make miracles happen. Get our stuff together in agreement. All men, all women, all rich and poor were equal for the week. Romans were governed only by the 3 laws of the priest of Cronus during the holiday. 3 laws. All businesses shall be closed except bakeries, cookeries, and those which tend to sport and solace and delight. Second rule, anger, resentment, and threats are strictly forbidden. Can you imagine that? Imposing on the culture. Wow, what a gift. And third, no discourse shall be either composed or delivered except it be witty and lusty, conducing to mirth and jollity. Wow, keep your mouth shut unless you're going to make me laugh. Oh, what a deal. Sounds like enlightened party time to me. I don't know about you, but as well as a delightfully supportive civic context for the pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness. These simple regulations laid the groundwork for the 3 G's that had become the essential ingredients of the spirit of Christmas: generosity, gaiety, and goodwill. Truly, the God life. There was, of course, during the transition period from Saturnalia's unabridged commitment to human celebration to the more sedate recognition of the Nativity, a certain amount of what we could call unseasonable behavior going on between a family of fun-loving humans characterized as pagans and an emerging group of relatively humorless authoritarians known as Christians. The Christians were hell-bent on removing any vestige of Saturnalia's light-hearted influence on the freshly minted birthday party for Jesus, the one we have come to know as Christmas. And Jesus wept. Happily, even though Pope Julius made the Christian version the official Roman holiday when he proclaimed the first Yule celebration in 354 CE, the spirit of generosity, gaiety, and goodwill continues as the hallmark of this sacred time that we dedicate to remembering the precious birth and life of the anointed teacher who introduced us to our true natures and encouraged us to claim our divinity and to dig infinity always. In the march of time from the first official Christmas, countless public celebrations have been reserved for that most special of days. The very first recorded English Christmas was celebrated at Camelot by King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table in 521. In 597 CE, in Kent, England, missionaries baptized 10,000 converts on Christmas Day. That's an altar call. Wouldn't that be a hoot? Can you imagine 10,000 people showing up here? Let's do it. Put that in your mind. Make that happen. On Christmas Day in 800 CE, Pope Leo III crowned Charlemagne king, and in 1065, the Master's birthday was chosen as the ideal time to consecrate the newly constructed and still standing Westminster Abbey. From the earliest of Christmases, the spirit of the season has remained faithful to its ancient lineage. The 3 G's of the priest of Cronus: generosity, gaiety, and goodwill. Consider for a moment. In 1496, King Henry VII enacts an anything-goes holiday policy. There's a man for my heart. Allowing commoners to do anything they want, to have a little fun, including playing cards. Wow, that's getting out there. But it was strictly forbidden the rest of the year. In 1543, King Henry VIII takes 21 Scottish nobles prisoner at the Battle of Somme, feeds them Christmas dinner, then sets them free. What do you call that? Got to be seasonal compassion, some kind or another. A slight perversion of the Jesus ethic, to be sure, but at least it's a start. Could it be that Braveheart lost his head over lousy timing? It's worth a thought. In 1608, Jamestown, Virginia, Pocahontas rescues Captain John Smith from imprisonment by her father, Chief Powhatan, and the colonists celebrate America's first Christmas. Wrote Smith in his diary, "We were never more merry, nor fed on more plenty of good oysters and fish and flesh and wild fowl and good bread, nor never had better fires in England than in the warm smoky houses." A rich example of a being practicing the wisdom and of celebrating the donut rather than commiserating over the whole. Recognizing and expressing gratitude for the subtle, mundane examples of God's generous spirit is a graceful spiritual art that would serve any of us well in a season so often polluted by regrets over what we were able to give and disappointment over what we received. In 1958, the satellite U.S. Atlas transmits a Christmas greeting to the world from President Dwight D. Eisenhower. To all mankind, America's wish for peace on earth and goodwill toward men everywhere. And Jesus cheered, though I doubt he's still cheering right now. I can see it now, God and Jesus standing together right in the center of the cosmos. God puts his arm around Jesus and then points his finger right at earth saying, "Son, we got a real educational crisis going on in that spiritual kindergarten you started on planet Earth. After 2,000 years, they're about even with the learning curve of a lemon. What's it going to take for them to see they're still trying to spell God's name with the wrong blocks?" Now that's a righteous inquiry, and one we'd all be well advised to happily consider. What is it going to take for each of us, individually, to come to that place where the quality of our livings testifies powerfully that we have made a choice to truly be instruments of peace and goodwill for all who come our way? I'm convinced that the most profound Christmas gift any of us could give this or any other sacred season would be our commitment to understanding and keeping his commandments with impeccable fidelity. Oh, come. Indeed, oh, come, all ye faithful. Time moves on, 1968. Cape Canaveral, NASA workers sneak 3 bottles of brandy aboard Apollo 8. Oh, now that's got to be a hoot. Can you imagine? 3 astronauts up there, crocked. Hey, here's some aid. This is somebody calling in from outer space. Well, they were stocking stuffers for astronauts Frank Borman, James Lovell, and Bill Anders on the Christmas moon mission. Now, how refreshing, I think. How refreshing. A sense of playfulness cuts right through Houston control to provide a moment of sweet liberation from the deadly tension surrounding the earnest business of putting human beings into space and getting them back alive. Tucked eternally away, ever so safely, in the sweet bosom of our beloved Father, Mother, God. Indeed, away in a manger from deep space. In 1979 in Seattle, the Boeing Company throws the largest Christmas office party in history. It entertained 103,152 people in the 65,000-seat kingdom. I recognize the math doesn't work. Just consider it a West Coast version of the Miracle on 34th Street. In 1993, New York, former Queen of Mean, Leona Helmsley, you remember Leona? God bless her. She donates $25,000 to replace Christmas gifts stolen from a Manhattan homeless shelter. A contemporary Christian carol. Charles Dickens would be so pleased to see that the phenomenon of changed hearts in the spirit of Christmas generosity is not necessarily fictional. In 1994, Washington's First Lady, Hillary Clinton, leads reporters on a tour of the Christmas White House, taking time out to respond to recent unseasonable remarks about her husband's staff from House Speaker Newt Gingrich. Not much has changed. Perhaps we need to be more careful in our treatment of each other, Hillary says. I would hope that the Christmas spirit would take over the heart of everyone. I can get behind that initiative. Rest easy, Hillary. The spirit of Christmas is alive and well. According to a recent Gallup poll, 90% of Americans celebrate the Yule, and 80% of them say Christmas has a strong or somewhat strong religious meaning for them. This year, we'll send over 2.6 billion Christmas cards, make an average of 150 million phone calls a day during the holiday season, and contribute over $60 million to the Salvation Army Christmas Kettle Program. $60 million. Christmas generosity is, and always has been, alive and well in London, England. In 1248, King Henry III had his treasurer fill Westminster Hall with thousands of poor and homeless and feast them for the entire Christmas week. In Cornwall, England, in 1530, landowner James Cammanow holds a 12-day Yule open house for all comers and goers, drinkers, minstrels, and dancers. He served 12 bullocks, 36 sheep, scores of hogs and lambs and fowl, 20 bushels of wheat, and countless kegs of ale. Now that's a party, huh? Whoa. One of my favorite examples of the spirit of Christmas generosity took place in Darlington, South Carolina, just a little bit south and east of here. In 1979, Raymond Stansberry, a garbage man, was arrested just before Christmas for trespassing when he entered the town dump after hours to sort through clothing discarded by a local department store to see if he could use any of it as Christmas gifts for his 7 children. His story was picked up by the Associated Press wire service and published in hundreds of newspapers nationally. The next day, Stansberry was released on a $200 bond. When he got home, an employee of the department store was waiting and invited him and his children to the store to help themselves to all the new merchandise they wanted on the house. Isn't the mystery just magical? During the Christmas season, Stansberry received over $30,000 in cash gifts, including $500 from Sammy Davis Jr. He purchased a $27,000 home, and his life story was then optioned by a Hollywood producer for an undisclosed sum. Anytime we think we know what's going on in the universe, remember this story. There's always more to the story. There's a lovely parallel between Mr. Sandberry's experience and the story of Joseph's getting dumped into the well by the brothers. In the beginning, both situations appear to be manifestly unjust, but only until the redemptive power of God's compassion and generosity touches the hearts of everyone involved, transforming each event into an exercise of an all-redeeming grace. On the other hand, in Detroit, Michigan, in 1988, the female employees of Jason's Strip Club sent $24,000 in cash to local Christian Christmas charities. Sad to say, though, the organizations involved sent the gifts back, while Jesus implored, "Judge not the appearance created by your rigid moralizing mindsets. Judge the intention, you dopes." He didn't really say that. I made that up. But you get the idea. Rest easy, though. Sooner or later, God will send the Christmas of Spirit past, future, and present to visit all beings still stuck in the bleak midwinter of self-absorption and spiritual ignorance. We're all going to make it, and we're going to make it together. In the end, the spirit of Christmas is going to get you. You've got Ebenezer Scrooge, a profound archetype of the lost humanity that Dickens described thus: "No warmth could warm, nor wintry weather chill him. No wind blew bitterer than he. No falling snow or pelting rain was more intent upon the purpose. The cold within him, frozen, froze his features, nipped his pointed nose, shriveled his cheek, stiffened his walk, made his eyes red, and his thin lips blue." Ooh, have you ever been there? I think we all have, sometime or another. A Christmas Carol is our story. Every one of us has gotten lost in the dark nights of the soul. But take heart. In the ending, the spirit of Christmas generosity got the best of that squeezing, grasping, scraping, clutching old sinner. On the morning of the 25th, not only did Scrooge jump for joy, "A Merry Christmas to everybody," whoopee, hello. He bought a prize turkey for the Cratchits. He had dinner with his nephew Fred, and he gave his clerk Bob a raise. It's magic. It's magical. May the blessed season find each of you shouting with Ebenezer, "A Merry Christmas to everybody." Yeah, to everybody. May each of you experience the grace of sharing your abundance with those less fortunate. May you give yourselves the truth of reconciliation if you have shut any being outside your heart. May you raise the spirit of everyone you meet along the way. And I thank God personally for the gift each of you have added to the sum of my days. Merry Christmas, beautiful ones. Merry Christmas.